What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Cornelia, back with another episode of Black News, a podcast where we break down current events, hot topics, and local stories involving Black people. Now let's get into it. My bad, y'all. I was out last week. Y'all, I'm so sorry. I do this every time. And I don't mean it. I have every intention to be recording these episodes and putting them out every week. But the time was slipping away from me. Time. Casey and JoJo voice when they was on the Tom Joyner Morning Show. Let me tell y'all, I'm so sorry that I did not upload an episode last week. My niece came to visit me. We had a time, but Auntie died, okay? Auntie is tired, okay? Auntie can't be out like she used to, and by out, I wasn't even doing a lot. I was just working a full day, then activity at night. Full day, activity at night. Full day, activity at night. Amusement park all day. Hey, Auntie tired. And I intended to record an episode and upload it, but I just did not have time because, again, Auntie worked full day and activity at night. So I had no time to record, had no time to edit, had no time to upload. But I had a good time, and y'all was on my heart. Y'all was on my heart. But hey, it is what it is. We back this week, back like we never left. And quite a few things have happened. Okay? Quite a few things have happened. Who locking up Black men now? Who locking them up? Who's the one? She's locking up Black men. She is locking up Black men in San Francisco. She was putting a who was locking up Black men? Who was the ones locking up the Black men? During the election, she was, and by she, Vice President Kamala Harris, was out hitting the pavement, doing speeches, rallies, interviews, you name it. She was out here doing it. And there was a wave of misinformation that was flowing throughout the Black community that Vice President Kamala Harris was locking up Black men while she was district attorney and or prosecutor in San Francisco in the Bay Area. They even was saying she was locking up Black men while she was the attorney general, as if the state attorney general was out in the neighborhood arresting people on petty marijuana crimes. Okay, she was like, the attorney general goes after big business, basically. Okay, but we're not gonna get into the weeds of that. So people were saying, you know what, I can't vote for her because when she get in office, she gonna be locking up Black people. She gonna be locking up Black men. That's what they were saying. They said I can't do it because she did it before, and that's what it's gonna be. And we know it. She ain't about us. She not about our people. She ain't even Black. She got a husband. He white. She gonna be lying to Black people. Well, lo and behold, over the past week, the National Guard, in addition to the National Guard being deployed in cities like Los Angeles, because y'all know we was dealing with that when ICE was out here, the National Guard has been deployed to Washington, D.C., conducting, and I'm doing air quotes, roving patrols on the city streets looking for crime. Now, crime in D.C. ain't even the worst crime in America. We can pull up the most dangerous cities in the country. DC ain't at the top of the list. So why was it picked? We know why, but we're going to continue on. But the most dangerous cities as of now, some of the cities, Memphis, Detroit, Baltimore, St. Louis, and New Orleans. And I'm going to put an asterisk by Baltimore specifically because their crime has drastically went down to the success of the Black mayor that they have in the Black government, the Black governor. Shout out to them brothers. But the National Guard was deployed to D.C. And after that, immediately we saw clips of people, of Black men being chased down, thrown to the ground, handcuffed, harassed. People have been reporting on TikTok that they're saying they going knocking on doors. Somebody had their camera out and was recording one of the masked officers, and we don't know if they're officers for real or if they just some guy in an outfit looking for a crime. So who is it that's doing the locking up now? Listen, who is it? Who is it? And it's convenient that it's targeting black people. But let me read some of the article from NPR. Shout out to NPR that has been defunded. Please, if we're going to donate to somebody, donate to NPR. I'm waiting for one of the billionaires or somebody to save this news outlet along with PBS. I'm going to read a little bit. Y'all know I be talking about how people can't reach out. I've been on the ropes, so forgive me in advance. It says Trump's DC crisis, air quote crisis, parentheses, enters second week with more soldiers and no exit strategy. As the U.S. Capitol braces for a second week with soldiers and masked federal agents conducting roving patrols on the city streets, y'all's president said he knows some Americans fear he's crossed the dangerous line. Already they're saying he's a dictator, he said, speaking at the Kennedy Center in Washington. This place is going to hell and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. The article continues on. It's impossible to untangle the impulses that led him to abruptly militarize law enforcement in D.C., putting hundreds of National Guard troops and federal agents on the streets while attempting a chaotic takeover of the city's Metropolitan Police Department. They're trying to take over the police department. We are now arrived in the fascist government. This is it. Military's taking over police departments, y'all. Hello, this is it. But y'all's president has long made crime, especially when committed by young black men, a central part of his populist message, dating back to his time as a high-profile real estate developer in New York City. Y'all remember the Central Park Five? Took out that page ad, calling for their unalivement. He also regularly portrayed urban communities like Washington, D.C. as bleak, often apocalyptic terms. During his first presidential inauguration address in 2016, he spoke of mothers and children trapped in poverty in our inner cities while promising to end what he called American carnage. But critics say a deeply troubling aspect of his unfolding crackdown in D.C. is that he launched it on false and debunked claims that Washington is spiraling into disorder. Y'all, it's not spiraling into disorder. There is not a crime crisis in D.C., said Rosa Brooks, a former Metropolitan Reserve Police officer who teaches now at Georgetown Law School. This is police state territory, Banana Republic police state territory, she said. Y'all, what do we think the goal is? The goal of this administration is to terrorize black and brown people and to make us and turn us back into the level of citizen that we were pre-Civil Rights Act. If you hadn't noticed, all of these things that are happening, it is specifically targeting people of color. Throughout this whole first half of this year, think about it. Have we heard about any non-colorful communities being targeted in any way? No. We haven't heard about European immigrants being detained by ICE. We haven't heard about them being shipped nowhere. We haven't heard about cities in those predominantly white cities through a crime rate being scooped up. The National Guard sent to their city. Nothing. We have heard nothing. All we have seen is ICE raids, people getting scooped up by ICE while they were trying to legally apply for citizenship and take the proper steps. We have seen the black unemployment rate skyrocket because of those federal government jobs that have been decimated, because we all know who is one of the largest demographics in the federal government? Black people, black women. We now see them trying to take over police departments in major cities. Why? Because they're going to continue to do this. All you had to do was vote for the black lady. Hello? And at this point, y'all, there's literally, I don't know, like nothing we can do. But on the flip side, you got people like Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of California, who is now in full on troll mode for that administration. He is tweeting like him. He got somebody running the social media where they doing funny memes and trolling and gifs and all this other stuff. You have them actively doing that. You have the situation in Texas where they are trying to gerrymander the maps and remove congressional seats so that is no black representation in that state, while simultaneously adding additional seats so that they can shore up the 2026 midterm elections. You have Gavin Newsom saying, we're going to do the same in California. And you had the governor of New York saying, you know what, if they doing it, we're going to do it because we tired of being on the sidelines. This is what we need. Do I think it matters? I think from a history standpoint, sure. Because when history is retold 50, 75, 100 years from now, you're going to need those stories about those agitators and those few people who fought back in ways that they felt like they should have. But overall, as a party, Democratic Party has got to be the weakest bunch of mother MFers I've ever seen in my life. I'm so sorry. I think at this point, though, we're here. It's so disappointing. And let me take a step back a bit, because on a couple episodes ago of Black News, I talked about the possibility of the black lady actually winning. So it is highly likely that when we talk about right now in this block of time, there is nothing else we could have done. You can't out campaign thievery. The real cuss out belongs in 2016, 2017 when y'all didn't vote for Hillary. That's where y'all need to get y'all ass cussed out. Because once we open up the door for this, guess what? It's here. What y'all think though? If any of my listeners, I feel like it's a few of y'all that are in the DMV area. Please let me know what y'all seeing in real time on the ground. Okay. Are people in the neighborhoods? Is it only certain neighborhoods? Is it northeast, northwest? Are they in southwest? Like, where y'all at? Where y'all at? We need to know. We need some updates in real time. Please hit me up and I'll share it on Black News. Let me know. You can find me at Cornelia on social media. So on YouTube, there is a channel, a platform. I don't know how I don't know. I think they're a channel. They're an organization, a group, a network, whoever that is popular on YouTube because they have debates where there'll be one person versus 20, insert whatever the demographic is. You may have seen them go viral recently. At one point, Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete was on there. And he ain't the mayor no more, but y'all know what I'm saying. He was on there debating people. You had that young white guy who is usually on TikTok cussing out the Trump supporters. He was on there debating people. You had one of a commentator that I often see on like CNN debating conservatives. Candace Owens was on there a couple weeks ago getting ate up. Well, Amanda Seales went on this and her episode aired this week. And I'm not going to go on YouTube and watch it and provide the clicks to support them that way. But I have watched quite a few of the ones that are circulating on TikTok. And this, to me, is the perfect platform for Amanda. Not Jubilee per se. Let me say that the perfect format for Amanda. I don't feel any way about Amanda. You know, there's always conversations about some people don't like Amanda. She does, she that. I don't care. I'm not getting into all of that. I just have, honestly, I just have other things to do. And I don't have an opinion on that's valid enough to be provided. But I feel like I do know enough about her online personality to know that she is highly educated. She is knowledgeable about the Black experience, Black history, Black culture. She is knowledgeable about world events, politics, you name it. She knows a lot of stuff. She also is really good at thinking quickly on her feet, because if you're in any debate setting, that is one of the number one things, right? You have to be able to think quickly and to be able to communicate responses without any prep time, essentially. You also have to have thick enough skin or be strong enough and low key petty and spicy enough to be able to talk to these people, because in this case with Amanda, they had 20 of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my entire life on here. Okay. And I'm not just talking about for the sake of that. I'm saying that this show showed me and reiterated to me and a lot of us what we all knew, that social media and propaganda is working. It has worked. That long effort to sow falsities and lies, propaganda, and into the Black community, and to have people questioning actual facts, and trying to say that certain things didn't happen or exist just because they saw it somewhere posted by some person, some out of nowhere. Like, it's worked. It's working. All of that is working. And situations like this prove it. Okay. So, for the most part, and I'm going to play a clip so you can kind of see what it is that's happening. But a couple things that were noticeable. One, it was a lot of young people on that show who are part of the 20 conservatives, which is also alarming because it's telling me that there is somewhere a disconnect between facts, history, Black history and Black culture, and mis and disinformation. Adding in also critical thinking skills. There is a complete disconnect between all of these things. And honestly, I am concerned for our youth. We now have more access to information that we didn't before. The problem with that is you do not have to actually seek out and research information and cite your sources. You can just pull up something online, read it, and accept that it's true, even though we know for a fact that anything can be posted on the internet without it being proven to be fact. I could literally create a fake website right now and just start saying the dumbest stuff. Somebody could just click on it and read it and be like, I know it's true because I read it online. Yeah, but it's a lie and it's stupid. So that was the first thing that stood out. I was like, oh, we're actually really cooked. We're actually really cooked. If the people who are the demographic and the group that's responsible for ensuring and for shoring us up for the next however many years to come, if they can't even tell the difference between fact and fiction, don't know how to research, can't cite no sources, then we're actually really screwed. We're really screwed, like for real. No, it's screwed. Now, that's not everybody, but watching this video, I was alarmed. Another thing I noticed, some people really want to align with anybody other than black people. And this, I'm saying some people by some black people. It is just, I just never grew up in a space or never in my life felt ashamed or like I was less than for being black. So it's so interesting to me and it's really sad when I see other people feel and act that way. If I had to pick which group of people I want to be in any lifetime, if I had to go somewhere and come back, baby, I'm going to pick black every time. I'm going to pick black every time. So watching those clips, hearing how people talk about blackness and how they kind of separated themselves from the black community and will say like they do this and they're black themselves. I just, it's such a shame. It is such a shame. One other thing that I noticed there were a lot of Black Americans on that show who were not descendants of Black people who came here due to the transatlantic slave trade. It was a lot of Black immigrants. Now, I'm not one of those people who be deep into the diaspora wars where I be like, "Oh, big Black British be doing it." I don't care. I want everybody to learn world history. I want everybody to learn world history. I want us to learn world history. I want everybody them the world learn it. I want people to learn it. However, if you are in America and you are speaking about systemic racism, if you are speaking about white supremacy, if you are speaking about the things that have been affecting us for centuries and are happening in this country, if you do not have the context as a Black American due to familial lived experience, you have to do your research. You have to be read up. You have to know the basics. And a lot of people on here, it seemed, did not know the basics. You got to know the history of the transatlantic slave trade. You got to know beyond those ill-informed talking points of Black people sold other Black people into slavery. That is an oversimplified version of the facts. Black people did not see themselves as Black and in Africa. They saw each other, they saw themselves as tribes and as groups of people within their communities. Prisoners of war have been a thing across the globe, but it was a thing across the continent. When Black people were captured due to acts of war and other things, it was common practice for those people who were captured to be given or sold to other villages, other communities, other tribes, and those people would be put to work or other things would be happening. They were not stripped of their last name. They were not bred like cattle. They were not beaten, mutilated, tortured, right? All of those things. And they get, in most cases, they got to stay in contact and keep their families, and they were not in servitude for the rest of their lives. It is also a fact, and we know this, that Black people were not selling people into chattel slavery from what it was become. They didn't know until years and years later what was actually happening. Baby, wasn't no cell phones. You know how long it would have taken for information to get back from the Americas to find out what was actually happening over there. Black people who when they need to learn history, they need to know about um the all of the acts of rebellion. They need to know about all of the routes that Black people try to escape to freedom. Harriet wasn't the only one doing it. Harriet was in the late 1800s. People been escaping and rising, having uprisings since the beginning. They need to know that certain from enslaved Africans from certain countries were banned because they kept fighting back. At one point, the Congo, they were banning people from the Congo because they kept fighting back. They need to know about the Civil War. They need to know about the Confederacy. They need to know about Reconstruction. They need to know about the Freedmen's Bureau. What happened to it? Why it got dismantled? The Freedmen's Bank. They need to learn about it. They need to learn what happened with Reconstruction and when it ended. Black codes, Jim Crow, lynching, convict leasing, slavery by another name. They need to learn all of this. They need to learn about the civil rights movement, Emmett Till and them. They need to know Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer. They need to know all of these people. They need to know redlining. They need to know GI Bill, Social Security, the history, all of these, policing. They need to know this before they can speak on behalf of Black Americans. I know that was a lot. Y'all probably like, girl, we get it. I'm just saying. That's just one thing I noticed. A lot of people are speaking about the experience of Black people, but don't have any context. You cannot have a debate about saying white supremacy doesn't exist when you don't even know the history of white supremacy in America. You cannot say that discrimination based on race doesn't exist when you don't have the context about how, majority of the entities in this country have been able and were able to discriminate based on race. You cannot have a debate about how DEI is ineffective and black people shouldn't be a part of DEI when you don't even know that DEI ain't just about hiring people. Diversity, equity, and inclusion could be something as simple as providing sign language interpreters, the black ones. Because we all know, and I'm saying we all air quotes because we all don't know, that there are nuances between the sign language that black people use and the sign language that white people use. Why? Because we weren't allowed to go to schools back in the day, so we didn't get the same lesson. And that applied to people who were hard of hearing or deaf. If you're going to speak on it, you got to know. So that's one thing I noticed. That's another thing. Another thing that was brought up, and I saw this in the comment on social media, I was like, hey, that is true. It seemed like a lot of the people who, black people who identify as the conservative community, they must also be boycotting the barbershop because ain't none of them mugs had no hairline line up, no shape up, wasn't no taper in the back. It wasn't no high fade, ball fade on the side. They ain't had a clipper, none of that. They must, in addition to boycotting facts and reading actual books, they also boycotting the barbershop. They said no haircuts for me, buddy. I'm just gonna go. Hey, I'm just gonna go with it. Hey, none of that. I don't want none of that. No clippers. Clippers, get out of here. Only clippers we acknowledge are the LA ones, which makes sense because y'all remember that the dude who used to own the Clippers, he was racist too. Okay. Another thing I noticed, it is impossible to technically call this a debate show because in order for there to be a debate, people on both sides have to be skilled in the art of debating. From what I've noticed on this episode with Amanda and from the other ones, it's basically you spending all of your time trying to educate the uneducated. People not coming there to learn. People not coming there to do anything else but to yell, scream. And for the one person that is there debating all of these other people, it's about kind of staying afloat, right? You just trying to stay afloat. I will say the only episode clips that I saw floating around online where it seemed like people were really learning something is when Pete Buttigieg was on there. Because Pete got a way of making people feel like he's like trying to help them. But besides that, child, this episode, it was giving me anxiety when I was watching the clips. I don't think it's possible for me to even go online and watch it. I was literally grinding my teeth, okay? Teeth clenched, back all hunched. I was sitting over at my computer looking like a croissant, okay? I can't. But this was made for Amanda. So I'm going to play a little bit of one of the clips. I'm not going to play the whole thing because these are long. And there's so much within each. I want to say these episodes on YouTube be hours long. Who knows? But y'all, I'm just going to play a little bit so you can understand and get some context of what this is and what was talked about and what I mean about this platform and this idea of debating. So here's her talking, Amanda talking to, Seal's talking to one of these little boys with no haircut. Okay, this is what he's saying.
I'm back. So let's talk about facts. I just want to move back to systemic racism because you mentioned systemic racism earlier. I just want to look at 3 applications of systemic racism against white people and against East Asians as well. So, for example, we have the National College Attainment Network, which defines affirmative action or even race-conscious admissions as taking race as one of the factors in whether or not you're going to admit a student. And we noticed that when race-conscious admissions was out of it, Black enrollment dropped 64%. At UC Berkeley. And that is an act of systemic racism. Trying to look at people's races and allow them into colleges whether or not they're of a set race is racism. And it's race conscious. And Martin Luther King's most famous quote is that he doesn't want his children to be judged based on race, but by the content of their character. And the content of people's characters also includes merit. We have another example of systemic racism. Burgess Owens. He's a representative out of Utah. He's a Black Republican representative. He called out the MIT president for having Black-only dormitories. I mean, what does that mean? Why are we trying to segregate each each other and say that black people feel safer amongst black people. And the truth is they're actually more in danger when they're around black people. And that's unfortunate. It's sad that I'm saying this, but it's the case. And I have to say it because it's true. Okay. Black people are killing each other at a vast, crazy rate. Black men rapping about it. It's savagery. It's barbaric. And we shouldn't be doing it as a people. We should try to get more Ben Carson's. Ben Carson's cousins were murdered when he was younger, but his mother came to him and gave him a book and told Ben Carson to read and study to not be like his cousins. And Ben Carson separated two twins at the back of the head, and he's known as one of the best renowned neurologists or neuroscientists that we've ever seen. Right?
Ben Carson said that slaves were immigrants.
Well, they were brought here to the United States, and many of them were slaves, and we know that to be a fact.
What is the difference between someone being an immigrant and being a stolen person?
I mean, I understand that many people were stolen here, but 90% of historians agree that slavery would have not been possible if black slave owners within Africa didn't sell off their people. White people didn't show up and just start stealing people. They didn't do that. That's not how that worked.
They literally did that.
But they didn't. They worked with black owners and the Arabs.
Literally did that. And Arabs did that as well. And I think it's very important. And I think it's important to note that there is an oversimplification of history as well as of black people in Africa. There's a failure to acknowledge that in Africa, black people did not consider themselves black people. That was a racial distinction that was solely created by white oppressors to legitimize slavery.
Arab oppressors, actually, because the Arabs did it in the 7th century. They were the first ones.
They did not name it under blackness. They simply just decided we're going to go and have enslavers. This was a decision that was actualized and then tried to be pushed forward through eugenics. Literally, there was an executive order that was passed a few months ago that said that Donald Trump wants to now control the museums because he wants to take back control of the narrative around race. And in one of these museums that they cited was that there was a display that speaks about race not as a biological thing, but as something that has just been created as a social construct. And he stated that that is an incorrect expression of race, that race is biological.
But it is biological. Like, let's look at our phenotypical traits, the nose differences, the hair texture. It's a biological thing.
Oh, baby.
Sure, there's a social concept, but there's biological differences.
Sir, you're very convicted in your lack of information around these things. Race and ethnicity are two different things, okay? Ethnicity is where you're from. Race is literally something that was created to put people into categories of caste, to put people into categories of oppression. Race is not something that you are. Race is something that was bestowed and put upon you.
That's racism, not race. Race is simply the aggregation.
Race is literally something that was created and put upon you. And I want you to listen to me as somebody who has studied this, who has a master's in African American Studies from the Institute for Research in African American Studies at Columbia University. I want you to understand very clearly that race is not something that is biological. There is literally
look at us. Look at the differences.
There is many differences that are equated to ours that has nothing to do with race.
Melanin content is not biological at all.
So if you have a black parent and you have a white parent, and now you come out looking white, how is that a biological proof of your race?
Most of them
There's
come
no
out
most of them.
having curly hair.
Stop. There's no most of them. You do not have anything to prove that.
You're mixed race too.
I am not mixed race. My mother is black and my father is black.
Well, my father is also considered black, but he's very much has a lot of European DNA.
You know what I think? I think that you are at a phase of your learning where you are a contrarian. And I look forward to seeing your development because I have a feeling that you're actually going to flip the script eventually because you are somebody that definitely is grounded in wanting to learn facts and wanting to learn the truths of things. However, you're currently still stuck in an indoctrinated space that is tricking you into thinking that you are something that you are not. You are a black person who is literally having to receive the results of racism, but ultimately you are of an ethnicity that has thrived in spite of it. And that is where we really exist from. And that is where our resilience comes from in spite of systemic racism.
I think our resilience is happening now. I think growing, understanding the real problems, not going out and trying to protest against, you guys don't ever do this. KTS.
You guys don't ever do that. KTS Who is you guys?
Members of the black community that want to hold people accountable, especially black people. So KTS Dre was shot 60 times outside of Cook County, Chicago. How many BLM members came out? You earlier said BLM is about
referring to me as you guys.
Okay, that's fine. So, for example, we had a really good example of this where it's not a police because I remember you said.
Where are you from?
Where am I from? What do you mean by that? Like, what state am I from? Where was I born?
Where do you live right now?
I live in Florida. I was born in Angola, though. I was born in sub-Saharan Africa. Okay.
Where did you grow up for most of your time?
In Maine. I lived in North America.
In Maine.
Yes.
And what is the population of black people in the town that you're from?
It's really extremely low, but I grew up around black people, and there was a black community where I lived.
And that black community that you lived in, did they teach you about black history in the United States? Like, are your parents black American?
Yeah, my mom is black. My father is black.
No, I'm asking, are they Were they born in the United
No,
States?
because I wasn't born there.
Oh, so you guys are all from Angola?
Yes. But again, I like I told you earlier, right? In terms of people like KTSJ that were shot, BLM doesn't come out for them. And I remember you earlier
I
said,
think it's really
hold on, can I
important.
please finish? You earlier said that BLM is worried about police, but when Daniel Penny choked out the man that we all know was causing violence on that subway train.
He was not causing violence.
He was threatening
causing
people.
disruption is not causing violence.
He was threatening people.
Causing disruption is not causing violence.
And the people there helped him also. And we know that we helped them.
I don't know what that has to do with BLM. Random people on a train is not Black Lives Matter.
BLM showed up for that. They did.
Showed up for what?
BLM showed up threatening white people, saying that they were going to go get white people. Now they
BLM
did.
protested.
BLM New York.
BLM protested. Where did you get that from? You see, your sources are not. You're not able to cite your sources. Please go sit down.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's not the truth. It's not the truth. It's not the. Nothing you say is actually the truth. Nothing. You're not even American. You're not even a Black American. As the daughter of an immigrant, it is imperative that Black people from other places understand the disparate difference that they exist from Black people in the United States. It is not the same. Period. And ultimately, the best effort that we can do as a diaspora is to lead in understanding, not in judgment. So when I am talking to somebody from Sudan, from the Congo, from Angola, I am listening to understand their experience, not to undermine it. And I refuse to allow anybody from Grenada, from Angola, from any other place to come and try to undermine the experience of Black Americans.
I know that was long, but I needed to play the whole thing. This was multiple hours of her going through this with people. And it points back to a lot of the things that I noticed. Just because you see some on the internet, don't mean that is true. And there has to be a way to kind of to reroute our young people who are in these phases where their minds are developing and they're learning, and not have them fall susceptible to propaganda and having them align with white supremacy. There got to be a way, baby, because that was an example about literally what we up against and how we got in this situation in the first place. It's working. The reprogramming of people's minds is working. And baby, we cooked. That's all I got to say. We cooked. What did y'all think though? What did you think? Let me know. About the Jubilee situation. Did you watch the full episode? Let me know what your thoughts on the whole thing were. You can find me at Kennelia on social media. On this week's episode of Black News, we talked about Washington, D.C. being now overtaken by the National Guard due to policies enacted by y'all's president's administration. We also talked about the most recent clips that went viral from Jubilee on YouTube, where Amanda Seales was debating 20 conservatives and all of the conversations that have sparked beyond that. Let me know your thoughts about all of these topics, some or none, and I'll check back with you guys next time. That's it for this week's episode of Black News, y'all. Thanks again for supporting the podcast by sharing, liking, subscribing, and rating 5 stars on your favorite podcast app. To find more information about me, you can check me out at Kennelia on social media, as well as on my website, which is kennelia.com. And as always, thanks for supporting, and I'll be back next week with new topics and a new episode.